Got a few guests this morning, but we're going to get right into the mix here with one of the top female fighters in the world who fights at the bantamweight division, 135, former Strikeforce bantamweight champion, Miesha Tate. Let's bring her on, guys. Miesha, how are you?
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. I'm just headed to get one last medical exam done before the fight, get my neurological exam done. So that's it. Wrapping up things. The fight's right around the corner.
What happens with the neurological? What are they tapping the kneecap, and what else?
Yeah, they basically make sure that you have balance and equilibrium, and your nerve endings are connected to your brain and whatnot. So they make you do funny stuff like stand on one foot and try to push you over, and make you do the test so when the cop would pull you over and make you touch your nose without looking, and make you do stuff like that.
How do you know about those tests that the cop does, Miesha?
I used to watch that show, the one with the cops, Bad Boys, what you gonna do? You know that one?
Yeah, I hear you. All right. Well,
I learned a lot.
Yeah. I had to do 4 of those tests, but I passed them all because I was the designated driver. But it doesn't mean they can't pull you over. If they, I guess, suspect you, coming out of a nightclub. So that's why I was asking. I wasn't implying anything. You said final exam. What other exams do you have to go through?
Well, I have to get for this one, luckily, I just had to get my blood work done, and that was it. But in California, we have to do all kinds of stuff. Luckily, my medicals were still good for previous fights, but you have to do everything from, get a brain MRI, neurological exam, eye exam, blood work, EKGs. They really try to be pretty thorough. You have to get a physical just to make sure everything's running right and you're entering the cage healthy. But it's kind of a nuisance.
And the athlete has to pay for it, correct?
That is true.
What does all that run? Do you mind sharing?
MRIs can be really expensive, but thankfully they're good for 5 years. So I think I'm just missing. I got mine just roughly 5 years ago, so I think I'm luckily still under the 5-year mark to fight this fight in California. But they can run anywhere from $800 to around $1,500.
Yeah. And are you cool? Are you
usually
cool?
Over 1,000.
Are you cool going in that little isolated spot of the MRI, or do they have to chill you out a bit, if you know what I mean?
Well, it's not my favorite thing to do, but I mostly just hate that I can't have my phone in there.
What would you be doing with your phone? Texting, words with friends, what else?
Yeah, texting, words with friends. I still play that quite a bit, actually. Usually every night before I go to bed, it helps me fall asleep. But that, and then just being on Twitter, social media, I'm kind of a guru and a little bit addicted, I think. So.
Do you still bake cakes even during training camps?
Not as much, but I still do. The last one that I baked was for a wedding on July 27th, I think it was. And no more baking until after the fight.
How big was it? How many of those stories or towers or layers or whatever you call it was it? I
did 3 layers. It was actually just a groom's cake, but it was really cool. It was a chocolate cake, and it had a Bavarian cream cheese filling, and then it had I actually used a filling for the outside of it, too. It's kind of like a hot cocoa flavor, the very smooth, soft chocolate, and then I poured chocolate over the top of that was kind of running down the sides, and then I decorated it with a bunch of chocolate-covered strawberries that looked like tuxedos.
Yeah.
The V with the white and the chocolate. It was pretty. If you like chocolate, it was definitely a chocolate lover's cake.
Did you do it out of the goodness of your heart, or do you get paid for this?
That one was for a friend, so it was out of the goodness of my heart.
You're so sweet. Hey, going back to the test, one more thing here. You date a male fighter, so I'm sure you've been with him while he does his stuff. Do you have to do additional stuff because you're a female? Like female stuff, I guess? Female exams?
No, not. The only thing that we have to do extra is we have to take a pregnancy test after weigh-ins, which can be very trying because, you can't really pee because you're all dehydrated. So sometimes they work with you, and sometimes they just are like, well, you got to do it now. And I'm like, okay, well, we're probably going to be waiting a while. I don't think I can pee right now.
After weigh-ins, wow, okay.
Yeah, they try to make you do that after weigh-ins. How silly that is, And I always try to make them feel really stupid about it because it's like, hello, what do you expect? You think I'm just going to be able to go pee? I haven't probably peed for the last 24 hours. I'm so dehydrated.
Well, not only that, but if you've already gone through a training camp and there might be some pregnancy, I would think they would do the test sooner. than after weigh-ins.
Yeah.
Why then?
I don't know why then. I don't know, and I've had him do it as late as after, right before the fight. I've had to do it right before the fight, which would be kind of crazy because you think they would want to know otherwise, but I don't know how they would have, because a lot of times we're traveling from some people out of the country and whatnot, so maybe that's just the best time that they could do it. But, they fly us in 4 days early. You would think that they'd want to know a little sooner than later. I mean, it's just like, oh, hello, day before the fight, you're pregnant, sorry, can't fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I hear you. Miesha Tate joins us here on MMA Junkie Radio. She's fighting Julie Kedzie at the Strikeforce Rousey versus Kaufman card. She's on the prelims that can be watched on Showtime Extreme. The fights begin at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. That's the main card. The prelims, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Miesha, what's it like to be part of a card and not have all that drama that you and Ronda had, I guess, leading up to that fight?
It's nice. I haven't heard a peep from Julie. We haven't exchanged anything, so it's just been purely focused on the fight and whatnot. And, it's kind of refreshing. But, I kind of miss being, I kind of miss, being the more interaction. I kind of liked it, with Ronda a little bit, and I want to get back to where, I'm more in the limelight. I think losing the title obviously took me a couple steps back, but this is definitely a step in the right direction. Winning a fight over Julie would, I really think, say, hey, I'm back, this is my comeback fight, and so I'm kind of, I'm hungry again, I was at the top of the top, and now I got knocked back a little bit, and there's only one way to get back there, and that's to keep winning fights and keep the fans happy, and that's what I'm aiming to do for this fight.
Have you been told anything like the winner of your fight could be next in line, or are they kind of keeping hush on that?
I haven't heard anything like that. I don't think they really know. I feel like sometimes with the women's division, they don't know what the heck's going on until, I don't feel like they plan it out as well. So I don't know, but I do know it would be a big win for Julie. If, she was able to beat me, that could definitely put her in title contention. But if I go out there and I'm able to put together, a really dominant performance, then obviously that could put me back in the running too. I think a lot of it is women's MMA, a lot of it is still very fan-based. If fans want to see it, then they'll put it together. So I'm hoping that the fans would like to see a rematch and see that I've evolved a lot and changed, and that I'll be better for my loss, instead of worse off for it.
You've been in there with both ladies that are in the main event. Can you give us a quick breakdown and maybe a prediction?
Yeah, Kaufman, obviously she's got the striking advantage. Ronda has the takedowns and the ground advantage. Usually I favor the grappler in those matchups because I think it's an easier game plan to execute than, to keep it on the feet the whole time. And I've never seen anyone, I've never seen Kaufman knock anyone out, with her punches. She body slammed that one girl one time and she knocked her out, which was really cool. But I don't see that happening with Ronda. I think for 25 minutes that Kaufman's game plan is going to be a lot harder to execute because she's going to have to maintain a perfect range of distance that just at the end of her punches where Ronda can't quite get a hold of her, but she can still hit her. Mm-hmm. Either that or she's going to have to run around a lot, and it's just going to be tough. Anytime you're committing to a hard enough punch to knock someone out, if you don't knock them out, you're going to be coming forward really hard, and you got a lot of weight behind you, and then it's hard to get out of the way when you're committed to your punches, and not have someone get a hold of you. So I think if Ronda gets a hold of Kaufman, she just needs one takedown. I think if she gets it to the ground, I think that she'll find a way to finish the fight, with a submission. And I don't think that Sarah will be able to fend her off, the entire time. So I would think that Ronda would probably win the fight.
Okay. Last time we talked, you were in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. It was after your fight, and we didn't really catch up after that. What exactly was the severity of your arm injury? And, tell us about that, and then the recovery and where you're at now. I imagine it's close to or 100%.
Yeah, I've made a full recovery, and I'm super excited about that. It's been a pretty vigorous process. I had to put a lot of time and a lot of work into healing the injury, just as much time and work as I would into preparing for a fight. Getting over that injury and being able to make a speedy recovery was a big goal of mine. So I worked really, really hard. I was literally doing my physical therapy around the clock. I'd go into my sessions, but when I was out of the sessions, I was asking my doctors, my therapists, what can I do at home? What kind of stretches, things to constantly keep my arm mobile and get it back, strong. I dislocated my elbow in the fight. I tore a lot of the muscle tissue around the arm and also the ligaments that are on each side of my arm. And there's also something called an ulnar nerve, but that was not disturbed, so that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm stoked. I didn't have to have surgery, and I didn't have to, sit out for a long time. So I think people will be, more sufficed, and questions will be answered when I'm able to get out there and show everyone just how well I've healed up.
Miesha, what about the psychological side of everything as far as the injury goes? Did you ever have any problems, like first day coming back, putting pressure on it, that sort of stuff?
For this fight or for my last fight?
No, just coming back from the injury. The first time you really pushed it.
Well, I didn't push it fast. I really eased into things. I took the time that I needed off, and then I started with, I started practicing with just things that were easy to do. Like, I started again with just grappling from the knees, and I would only go with people that were, I knew would be controlled and whatnot, and I was guarded about the arm and everything. But that's how I slowly got into things, and then I would slowly start hitting mitts and, lightly, and then as I gained more strength in the arm, by doing the physical therapy and lifting weights and things like that, I've slowly become less aware that it was ever a problem to begin with.
What do you think of Invicta Fighting Championships? They seem to have a lot of talent there at your division and other divisions, and they're putting on some great shows.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I was really stoked to be at the last Invicta card and watch a card full of fantastic female fights. They're really doing a lot to develop the divisions, and it was really exciting to see. The main event was in my weight class, and that was a great fight, and there was a lot of great fights in all the other weight classes as well. It's pretty cool.
Do you think something needs to be worked out there with like a sharing of talent? I mean, Invicta pretty much, they're closing the gap on Strikeforce in terms of, the talent that they have and popularity, it seems like. There was a lot of buzz around both shows.
Yeah, and deservingly so. Those ladies absolutely brought it, and I think that they put, they were right up there with the last UFC card and the card before that. For the most part, they pretty much put it to shame. I was just thrilled with how well the card came out, how well the matchmaking was done, and just the way that the show is run. When you're there to witness it. I've fought on all levels of shows. From fighting on an Indian reservation where there's no rules and regulations as an amateur, all the way up to fighting, for Strikeforce, which is one of the most prestigious shows for women's MMA. And I'm telling you what, Invicta is right up there with the way that they run things. They treat the girls great, and they run it as true professionals. They expect everyone to make weight, and they give little bonuses, and, they may not be a huge, money-filled corporation, but they're doing big things for women's MMA, and I think that they're setting a precedent, and I think that Dana's taken note of it, and I think that it's just going to do really, really good things. I also think it's going to help see and ensure that women get into the UFC eventually.
A few of the ladies were Strikeforce fighters that fought for Invicta. If things didn't go your way in terms of getting the win, but not getting another title shot or another fight for a while, would you be allowed to fight for Invicta, and would you be interested in fighting for Invicta?
I asked Sean Shelby about that because I know I'm one of their key players, so I wasn't sure, how they would say, what they would say about that.
Yeah.
But I said, is it out of the question? He said, no, it's not out of the question. He said, but let's just focus on Julie for right now. And I said, all right, good deal. I was just kind of curious. So he did tell me that it was not out of the question, but at this point, we haven't really discussed the details of that.
Okay. All right, Miesha, always great to catch up with you. We will definitely be tuning in to the Strikeforce Rousey versus Kaufman card in San Diego on August 18th. Now we can watch the fights on Showtime Extreme, so we're not going to miss any of this card. Again, Miesha's fight will be on Showtime Extreme That portion of the card, excuse me, starts at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Thank you again for the time. And is there anything else you'd like to say before we let you go?
Yeah, I would just like to say, thank you to all my sponsors, Toyo Tires, Ventresca Financial Group. There's a few other ones out there that we're in the works with. And also follow me on Twitter, please, Miesha. Yeah, I spell my name right. It's just at Miesha Tate. And, thank you to my team, Yakima Mixed Martial Arts. And I'd also like to give a special shout-out to Sarah Cheesecake Mraz. She fought on this last fight card. It's her first loss, but she did a hell of a job. And she actually came down 6 hours from Canada, drove to help me round out my last week of training. So she's here training with me right now, and it's just awesome to be able to train with another elite-level female athlete in my weight class. And I really do appreciate that. Big thank you to Brian Caraway, my boyfriend, trainer. We've been together for a long time. I'm super proud of him for winning Fight of the Night 2 UFCs ago, and also having his support. And also, thank you guys, the MMA Junkie. You guys are awesome. I always appreciate the interview. You guys are always super fun.
All right, thanks, Miesha. Best of luck with the rest of the camp, the test, and the fight on Saturday, or next Saturday. Bye-bye.
Bye now.